Web developers and marketers constantly copy and paste broken URLs, search queries, and sensitive API keys into browser tabs, trying to fix server errors. It is a routine part of the job. But when you use a random online encoder to fix those links, that data leaves your machine. Your highly sensitive OAuth tokens and private client information are transmitted across the open web to remote, unverified servers. The Prime ToolHub Universal URL Studio is built specifically to format those links without exposing a single byte of data to the open internet. It allows you to encode, decode, and parse complex web addresses entirely locally, keeping your workspace completely private. Database encryption doesn't help if your credentials are leaked through a third-party tool before they even reach the server. High-security development requires closing these gaps in your local workflow. Look at this illustration of the Universal URL Studio interface next to a disconnected network. You can load the Prime ToolHub page, turn off your Wi-Fi, and the tool continues to function perfectly. This schematic shows pure client-side JavaScript operating. Data moves directly from your keyboard to your browser. A solid red barrier blocks external communication. Type a secret API key offline, and the activity meter pulses rapidly. The engine processes text continuously without internet latency. Directly above that input box, the real-time data stats track your payload. The character counts and UTF-8 byte calculations update instantly with every keystroke. By eliminating network latency and server tracking, the trust model changes. You no longer have to rely on third-party hosts. Complete control returns to your local machine. Let's look at a messy text string, like a search for black and white shoes. It contains spaces and an ampersand, which are reserved characters that need to be converted before they can become a web-safe URL. When this raw string hits a server, the ampersand fractures the single search query into two disconnected, broken parameters. But pasted into the tool, it instantly becomes percent-encoded text. The fractured pathways merge into a single, seamless line the server easily reads. Notice that the spaces are converted to %20. While outdated HTML forms used a plus sign for spaces, %20 is the exact modern percent-encoding standard required by today's APIs. Percent-encoding is not an aesthetic formatting choice. It is the strict mathematical translation necessary for the Internet's infrastructure to accurately process human input. Standard JavaScript functions like encode URL element do a good job, but they still leave certain characters like exclamation points, parentheses, and asterisks completely exposed. To fix this, you need strict RFC 3986 mode. This setting applies a rigorous rule set that mathematically guarantees the conversion of those vulnerable edge case characters. Look at this interface. When you toggle the switch to activate strict mode, you can see the before and after comparison as those exposed characters are immediately converted into their alphanumeric hex equivalents in the output box. High-security environments like AWS S3 and OAuth endpoints demand precise formatting. If these specific edge case characters are sent unencoded, the API will reject the request or misroute the traffic. Relying on basic encoding functions leaves a hidden vulnerability in your code. Using strict RFC 3986 mode ensures your data is perfectly formatted to interact with secure API infrastructure. Watch this chaotic cluster of shapes organize into a neat grid, representing the shift to decoding. Debugging massive, deeply nested URLs requires breaking them apart. When you paste a convoluted, practically unreadable web address into the studio, it instantly translates the percent encoding back into plain, human-readable text. This clean UI table shows the smart URL parser at work. It automatically breaks the address down into distinct highlighted rows, isolating the protocol, host, path, query string, and hash fragment. By isolating these components, you can immediately spot errors in UTM parameters or specific API endpoints without having to manually scan through a dense wall of text. The smart URL parser takes the chaotic, tedious task of visual debugging and turns it into a structured, precise data audit. At this point, you have a mathematically guaranteed, web-ready URL securely copied to your clipboard, and your private data never left your local machine. It is time to permanently abandon laggy, insecure online utilities. Processing your strings directly in the browser protects your clients and speeds up your development time. Navigate to primetoolhub.com right now to access the Universal URL Studio. The tool is 100% free to use, and there are no signups required. The Prime Tool Hub directory is expanding to include over 100 premium developer tools. Bookmark the platform to keep these utilities ready for your future workflows. By prioritizing tools that run locally, you ensure that your most sensitive API keys and client parameters remain where they belong, under your direct control.